Yo, what's going on, man? Today is September the 18th, and this is the ChrisBeCappinn Show. On today's episode, we will do a quick recap as we always do, go through a couple of the comments before we get started, and then jump into a couple of the NFL games for Sunday. Probably just go through the Thursday night football game and then a couple of the 1 o'clock games. Always transparent with you guys. I have not did a deep dive into NFL this week, just a little late, and I hate getting the worst of the number, but we'll see what we can muster up. No official plays that I've locked in yet, but we'll see what we can do. Also interested to see what you guys are interested in the comment section of the games as well. So let's get into a quick recap. Yesterday I gave out 2 looks. Should have added. I was upset with myself for not adding the Sparks in the Mercury up and over the 160 and a half, whatever that number was. They got up and over the total, even with Brittany Griner and Rakia Jackson kind of getting into a scuffle last night and leading to Brittany Griner being, thrown out of the game after just 14 minutes. But Minnesota made us sweat. The money line was a winner though, and then Seattle did stay under their team total. I talked about liking that down to probably about 75 and a half to play the under, and they stayed under. I think they finished with 72 points yesterday. So 2-0 yesterday, continuing to move in the right direction and, kind of getting back in the right direction as far as the WNBA goes, because it had been shaky, man. Sunday was not profitable for me. I went 0-3 on Sunday, so it's a nice day to kind of bounce back yesterday. Let's go through a couple of the comments real quick, and then we'll get into the show for today. And we don't have a lot of comments. What up to my guy Justin in the chat, as always. Ryder Will says, good morning, everybody. Let's have a great day. Let's cash. Alex says, good morning, Chris. He says, Chris the Wizard smacked a plus 43.67 from listening to your show and insight yesterday. I'm glad you cashed, Alex. I'm glad you cashed. Love to hear that. What up, PZ? Top of the morning to you as well, bro. All right, let's jump into the Thursday games. Mitchell says he had a good bounce back yesterday in the WNBA. I love to see it. Love to see it. What up, Skip? He says, good morning, chat. He cashed the Minnesota money line yesterday as well. Yeah, giving up a 7-0 run at the end of the game was not ideal. To go down in the game and then have to, fight back and hit a fadeaway, and then you give up a layup to DeWanna Bonner to lose the lead again, and then you win it on a Bridget Carlton 3-pointer. That's not ideal. Not gonna lie, I was sweating that one out, but I'm glad we did cash. And get to the window with Minnesota on the money line yesterday. Felt like they were the right side, and they were up, like I said, 7 with less than 3 minutes left, and a lot of team going a 7-0 run. All right, let's get into Thursday night football. So, as I mentioned at the top of the show, there is some more work that needs to be done. It's a couple things that I really want to play in this game, but I'm gonna try to, just go with the play that I like the most. So we got the Patriots and the Jets. Patriots will be on the road. They're getting 6.5 points. It looks like, from what I saw, this line opened at 7, and it's come down to 6.5, 7, depending on where you shot. Actually, it was 7.5. Come down to 7, then come down to 7 to 6.5. Now I see it all the way down to 6 on a couple shops as well. So it just depends on where you're kind of looking at for this one. Total open 42. It's come all the way down to 38.5. Excuse me. I think we would all kind of agree with the total coming down. Well, at least my assessment with the total coming down is probably a fair assessment, because the Patriots offense is not that great. They didn't look too bad against Seattle in last week. I think they ended up scoring 20 points, but the Jets offense also hasn't, scored a ton of points. They looked a little bit better against Tennessee. So what am I thinking about this game? Couple things I looked into. First thing was, just from a trend perspective, you got Aaron Rodgers 11-6 straight up, 11-5-1 against the number when he's playing on Thursday night football. He's only 2-2 straight up, 1-3 against the number playing against New England in his career, but we know a lot of those games came with Tom Brady, on the opposite side of the football. Thursday night football, just trends in general. Thursday night football home favorites land 6 or more. Those teams are 52, 38, and 4 against the number. So they're cashing about 58%. If you just go all the way back through the Give Me the Dog database, they're 12 and 8. Those home favorites land 6 points or more. 12 and 8 against the number if the home favorite is laying 6 or more, and the total is less than 40. So it says that this trend to me says that the team that is laying a lot of points typically has a pretty good defense. And the Jets defense was shaky in week 1. They went to San Francisco. It did not look like a great defense at all. In week 2, they played a little bit better against the Tennessee Titans and was able to get that win. As far as the total goes, I mentioned, like in the under a little bit, 13 and 7 is the total in that same crate that I just shared with you guys. Home favorites laying 6 or more, and the total is less than 40. 13 and 7 to the under. So that's, I think, a little bit over 60%. New England has a bunch of injuries in this game. Jawan Bentley is expected to miss the rest of the season. He's one of their linebackers, and he's a really good run-stopping linebacker as well. When I was going through it and just kind of reading up on the game, I found that the Patriots, they have been really good against the rush. They're 10th in rushing yards expected per EPA, and a large part of that is due to Bentley. He had 12 tackles in the season opener before he got hurt last week. And when you go through it, like, you don't got to look too hard to find the injury report in this game. And it's a lot, man. I know, the money's coming in on New England in this spot. And, maybe that's because it's a short week or whatever the case might be. You got the Jets traveling home because they did play in Tennessee last week. New England traveling from Seattle, right? I think that game was played in No, that game was played in New England. So not too long of a trip for them. But you go through and just look at the injury report for the Patriots, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys like I know every single offensive lineman, because I don't. But I'm looking at this injury report for the Patriots, and they got a left tackle that's questionable. The left guard is questionable. The center is questionable. The right guard and the right tackle is questionable. That's your whole offensive line listed as questionable in this game. So last week, if you guys remember, I gave out Ramondre Stevens to go up and over his 66 and a half, 61 and a half, whatever that number was. I think it was 61 and a half, 62 and a half. I gave you guys the over on his rushing yards. And while I still feel like, he should be able to run the football, because I'll give you guys this real quick. When I look at the New York Jets, they haven't necessarily been the greatest run-stopping team on the season. They're allowing the most rush, well, not the most, but they're 26 in opponent rush attempts per game. They're giving up 33 rushes per game, giving up 4.7 yards per pop, which is bottom half of the league, 155 rushing yards per game, which is 24th. And I know New England's offense isn't the sexiest. It's not the greatest thing on the turf, but I do feel like, they're going to do what New England does. And it's something that we could, through week 2 is what I kind of expect from New England throughout the season. I expect them to run the football. I expect them to try to control the clock, keep the opposing quarterback off the field, and, use Jacoby Brissett, sparingly when they need to. This is probably the worst. I don't even think it's probably, honestly. I'll say the worst, wide receiver room in the NFL with KJ Osborne. You got Polk out there, Mario Douglas. Like, I'm not a big believer in them. I'm also just not a big believer in Jacoby Brissett, but he don't got a lot. So that scares me a little bit. I say all that to say that scares me a little bit, wanting to go back to Ramondre Stevens if I don't know who's going to play on the offensive line, in this game specifically. I also don't like that, they got Jabril Peppers listed as questionable. They're starting free safety, and they got a pretty good, deep a cornerback room or defensive back room. He was limited in practice on Monday. You also got the nickel corner, Marcus Jones. He's also listed as questionable. So, man, it's difficult for me to want to, do anything with New England here. Like I know it's you can get some buy low numbers with New England. It's difficult for me to want to do anything here. I was also reading a quote, and I screenshotted this. So I'm gonna share this with you guys as well. I was also reading a quote from Gerard Mayo, the head coach for New England. And he was talking about the offense kind of being one-dimensional and how it's hard to win games that way, even if you do play good defense and show toughness and control the ball. And he was just saying, quote, we've got to start pushing the ball down the field. It's something we need to something that we need to work on. That's what I would say. So I don't know who you pushing it down the field with. You go back and look at last game. It was Hunter Henry who had a really good game in that last matchup against who was that game against? Against Seattle last week. 8 catches, 12 targets, 109 receiving yards. So, thinking that he's could potentially be able to replicate that. I guess he is the number one pass catcher on the team. So I guess maybe a look towards him. At the same time, the Jets are going to know that that's coming. And I'm not sure how much protection they're going to get for, this Patriots offensive line. I got to see who's going to play in this game. Let's see what you guys are thinking about this one, and we'll go over to something else. This was the game that I spent the most time on so far. I got to figure out something that I want to play in this game, and when I do, I'll send it out to the members, but I haven't made a bet in the game yet. Let's see. Alex says Minnesota was trying to lose. Boy. Had my blood pressure through the roof last night, man. Malik says Sky Team total under cash. Appreciate the people who gave that out. Man, the crazy thing about the Sky is Kennedy Carter ended up getting ruled out right before the game. And I told you guys I thought that Cardoso wasn't going to play, but Kennedy Carter getting ruled out was interesting to me. And of course, they get smoked in that spot. That's probably why we saw so much money come in on them. Atlanta was able to cover that point spread too, and it got big. I think it was like 8.5, 9 maybe is what it closed at. And even though, Chicago fought tough, they are on the outside looking in, probably not going to get that last playoff spot because they got a really difficult game on Sunday. So we'll see who getting that spot. I think Atlanta probably gets it though. Tyler says, hey, Chris, good night. Last night, cashed that cloud over 20.5 points and assists. Appreciate the insight. Yeah, with no Kyle Copper, it made a lot of sense, man. I wish I probably should have got to the window with that Natasha Cloud play as well. I'm glad you cashed it, Tyler. What up, CG? He says, morning, Chris, all green. Love to see it. Love to see it. Justin likes Hunter Henry. He says over 31.5 receiving yards in his pocket. Real quick, let's double check that and see what we can get for Mr. Hunter Henry as far as receiving yards go in this game. See what the best number is right now. 30.5 over on Fanatics. Minus 120, so a little juice. It looks like there's some 31.5s available though. BetMGM got 31.5 at minus 120. So does Bet Rivers, so does Caesars at minus 115, and it looks like ESPN Bet got the best number at 31.5 over on Bet 365. I kind of think it makes a lot of sense to me, Justin. If that's who he has the chemistry with, I kind of think that because New England's defense is could potentially take a step back here. So you got them, they've been playing really, really good. If I look at New England's defense, just real quick to put some numbers to that, New England is number one in opponent rushing attempts per game, just 17.5. Number 3, like I said, in rushing yards per attempt, in opponent rushing yards per attempt, only giving up 3.3 yards per carry. The number 2 in opponent rushing yards per game at 58. But if they're not going to be 100%, I could see them being on the field, getting wore down a lot, especially if the offensive line is not going to be healthy. I mentioned, Juwan Bentley being out. There's a couple other question marks on their defense as well. So yeah, I'm thinking that, when they're on the field, they're going to have to use Jacoby Brissett maybe a little bit more. And if he's throwing the ball, I do think Hunter Henry's going to get a lot of those receptions. So I like the Hunter Henry look. I know it's, probably going to be a public play because he has so much success last week. But if he's going to get 12 targets and potentially get another 8 catches, how could you not take him over the 31.5 receiving yards coming off a game where he had 109? So we'll see how it goes. I'm also interested I would go back and look and see how the Jets defense has done against tight ends so far this season. I want to say week 1, they did an okay job, but I want to say George Kittle had 40 yards receiving, if I'm just remembering off the top of my head. And I'm not even sure who plays tight end for the Titans. I don't even know who plays tight end for the Titans off the top of my head. But yeah. Oh, let's see how they did last week real quick. to the tight end position. Chig Okongwu, I think is how you pronounce that, had 3 receptions for 16 yards. Will Levis, 19 for 28, 192 passing yards, 6.9 yards per carry, per attempt, per completion, I guess I should say. But yeah, that Jets defense is not great, man. Not against the rush. 28 carries last week for the Tennessee Titans for 130 yards. And we remember, what happened in week 1 when they absolutely got, the ball ran down their throat in week 1 when they went to San Francisco. So has not necessarily been the greatest showing for their rush defense. They will be home for their first game. So maybe that improves it just a tad bit. But I think that's how you attack the Jets defense, honestly. What up, Kristen? Top of the morning to you. Hope all is well with you and you have a lovely day. DJ Prop says, good morning, Chris. Love Ramondre Stevens over 1.5. Over a half, first quarter receiving yards at plus 146 on FanDuel. So thinking that he just gets a dump down. The other thing with Ramondre real quick while we're talking about him is if we go back and look at, because I did do this last night when I was looking into this game, we go back and look at New England. Last week, in the first half, I was, kind of sweating because I'm like, man, I don't think he's going to, get the necessary carries to get up and over the 61 receiving yards. They ended up giving them the ball a little bit more in the second half, but we saw a big, difference in snap share. Remember, I told you guys he was on the field, I think, for 80%, north of 80% of the snap shares in week 1. In week 2, they ran the ball 36 times. He only ran it 21. So Antonio Gibson stole a couple of those carries. He did have a nice long run of 45 yards. He ended up with 11 carries, where Ramondre Stevens finished with 21 for 81 yards, finishing at 39 yards per attempt. He did break an 18-yard run, and he also had 2 receptions for 9 yards as well. So prop going with just a 1 receiving yard in the first quarter. I like the plus money on it. Okay. Tyler says, Pats fans here, Breece Hall over receiving yards is what he likes. Last week, it was Zach Cabernet, had 5 receptions for 31 yards. Was that the only running back who caught a pass? I think so. Yeah, I think that was the only running back who caught a pass. Let's take a look at that real quick, Tyler. We got receiving yards for Breece Hall, 30.5 is the best number. God, this is why you got to get odds, Jim. Because this number 30.5 at minus 110 on BetMGM. If you like Breece Hall over his receiving yards. But if you only got access to ESPN Bet, because that's the only place you place bets, 39.5. That's 10-yard difference. That's crazy to me. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let me talk you off. Like it. I can see that 30.5. I think Breece Hall could have a really good game, especially if those injuries, continue to be what we have seen them to be, and those players for the New England Patriots get ruled out. The way I see football is if, it's a pretty simple concept. If you can't stop the run, then you're gonna be on the field a lot. And with the Patriots potentially taking a step back from being able to stop the run here, they could be on the field a lot. Also, if you don't have you don't have your offensive lineman, which we'll see who of the 5 that are questionable right now for the Patriots offensive line play in this game. But if they don't have their offensive line, it's probably going to lead to a lot more 3-and-outs. On the season so far, let's just look at the New England Patriots third down conversion percentage. I'm interested to see that. So it looks like they are converting 38.7% of the time, which is 16th. So they haven't done, too terrible. Red zone 37.5%, which is the 22nd highest percentage. So not great at converting, getting in the end zone, but they are converting about almost 39% of their third downs. If we look at the Jets defense, I think it should be a little bit night and day. First week, they couldn't get off the field. Last week, they couldn't really get off the field either. Opponents are converting 44% of their third down conversions, which puts the Jets bottom 10 so far this season in third down conversion percentage, opponent third down conversion percentage. All right, let's keep pushing. John says, "Hey Chris, haven't checked in since the end of NBA. I didn't know you handicap football. Love your your work ethic and the way you cap basketball. So definitely would have been checking in. Yeah, we just started, John. This is my first time actually, like talking it out. I always been a football fan for forever and started handicapping it probably about 3 years ago. But I just kind of kept my plays to myself. This year I said I'm gonna go public and talk football with you guys as well. So last week 2-0, but week before that I got smoked in week 1. I think I went 2-4 in week 1. So I think I'm 4-5 overall so far this season. Down I think a half a unit. So we'll see. What up, Jay man? Appreciate you for tapping in. Bitsy says he likes Jacoby Brissett under his 165.5 passing yards in this spot. Marcia says Jets are winning. They should win as a 6-point favorite. I'd agree. Interested to know why you like the passing yards under here, PZ. I think I agree with you, but I'm interested to hear what you think about this. Jets defense is allowing 28.5 pass attempts per game, which is 12th. Opponent completion percentage is 66.7, which is ranked 19th. Opponent passing yards is 195, and that's ranked 17th so far this season. The Jets defense hasn't been good. They've been getting gashed, 350 yards overall, which is the 8th most yards per game allowed so far. We'll see how that goes. What up, Big Marv? He says, shout out to you, my guy, on the links. Needed it. What up, Ball Talk? He says, feeling like one of them dog days on the summer. John says, I don't play teasers very often, and this is very chalky, but don't need the overtime. Don't need the overtime overthink this weekend. I think he says 2-teamer, 6 points with the Jazz. The Jets just to win the game by 1 over the Patriots, and the Bengals -1 over the Commanders. Can't see either team losing outright. Yeah, I couldn't talk you off of that. That should be a good one. I could see that. What up, Prolific? He says went 2-0 in the W yesterday. Man, not chasing thousands, but we eating. not cashing thousands. I'm sorry, not cashing thousands, but we eating. Long as the outcome is income, Prolific. One of the morals that I live by, man. Long as the outcome is income. J Man says I like the under here. I'll wait till it goes up. Till it go up though. I don't know if it's gonna go up or not. It's already come down. Like I said, it opened at 42. I'm not sure what's gonna happen here. Skip says he thinks Antonio Gibbs goes over his rushing yards. Ball Talk says tight end for the Titans got a weird name. African dude, good athlete. And Jermaine says the tight end for the Titans are garbage. They don't have the greatest tight ends. I would agree with that. The tight end room is not great. Will Levis is horrible too. Yeah, Will Levis is a funny guy, man. That pitch back last week was interesting. Jermaine also says Antonio Gibson was hurt in week 1. Yeah, this is true. He says random, but Enrique Ogumawale's brother had a couple of plays during the Monday Night Football game. Yeah, he's been with the Houston Texans for a while now. What up, Can't Stop? Appreciate you for tapping in. He says my first thought, I want to lay it with the Jets. I got to do some due diligence first. I kind of want to lay it with the Jets too, man. Not gonna lie. I know the Dogs was, absolutely on fire last week. I think 10-5-1 against the number, 8-8 straight up, losing by an average of 1 point last week. But it's week-to-week variance for sure. I kind of think the Jets should be able to get this win and win it by, a few more points. Now, I will say the Patriots are 2-0 against the number so far. They were getting 3.5 points as a dog last week at home, and they ended up losing the game by 3 in overtime. It's not going to be sexy, of course. Like, you're not going to score a bunch of touchdowns, but they're going to keep it close for sure. Can't Stop says, got to play it smart after the Eagles screwed me. Tyler says Seahawks didn't have Walker, so they would have done more damage, but they were down Walker. Brees had 39 and 52 receiving yards this year. I see us slowing down the run. Lots of screens for Brees, and I can see that as well. Like the thought process here, Tyler. Desmond says, I like Garrett's receptions or yards. I can't decide which yet. Good wide receivers, been abusing the Patriots first 2 weeks. Jamar Chase had 6 for 62, and DK got a lot of that on that one pass though. But he says DK and JSN had 100 yards each, and 10 plus receptions. And it could be, but like I said, Jabril Peppers is listed as questionable right now too. So injury report for this one is going to be interesting to see how it goes, man. Jermaine says, I'm going to go Wilson yards for sure. Sly says, definitely think it's a trap game for the Jets. Tell you as a Patriots fan, as a Patriots fan, we aren't throwing it to the receivers. I talked about this. He says, we throwing it to Hunter Henry and our running backs. The 2 wide receivers are not involved in the first 2 weeks. Mayo did point that out, though, and that's what I read too. He did say, like I said, and it was a quote that I read to you guys earlier. He says we got to start pushing the ball down the field. It's something that we need to work on. That's what I would say. And I think, like looking into that, it don't mean that it's going to be a whole bunch of, long receptions down the field, but I think especially on a short week where you don't really get to implement new things into your, to your playbook or, work on different things on a short week. So maybe we see this adjustment next week, but yeah, I think eventually it's going to start to come a little bit. Not sure he's going to push the ball down the field too, though. G421 says, what's good, Chris? The preview TPW playoffs was looking interesting. Not sure exactly what that means, but we'll talk WNBA tomorrow. Justin said, Ball Talk says he likes the over here. Justin says, I want to get there with Aaron Rodgers to throw a pick. Okay. Low-key leaning to the Amazon Prime under curse. Dante says, I don't even know what the Prime under curse is. I got to look into that a little bit more. Prop says, with WNBA playoffs starting soon, I just want to say thank you for the consistency. We made bread this WNBA season. I just redid my living room with the money made from betting alone. Keep up the good work. Appreciate that, Prop, for sure, man. Appreciate that for sure. I'm glad you've been cashing. And I know you've been sending me some tickets, bro. You have been cashing. I love to see that. That's what we do the show for, though, man. I love being able to come in here and talk the games out with you guys. Can't Stop says weather is looking pretty bad in New York right now. Could be an under game. Yeah, the whole East Coast, man, it rained the whole day yesterday. I went outside about 7 times yesterday. It never stopped raining here in Virginia. So, yeah, it might be a whole East Coast thing. I'd look a little bit deeper into the weather as well. Christian likes Breece Hall for anytime touchdown. Let's look into the odds for that real quick. We definitely taken a long time on this one game, but I enjoy talking it out with you guys. Let's see Breece Hall anytime touchdown is. Breece Hall. Jesus, minus 150 for Breece Hall. Looks like the best odds are available on Caesars. Minus 150 for Breece Hall to get into the end zone in this game. Man, I can't play a minus 150 for anytime touchdown, but good luck, Christian. I hope you cash, and I hope you got better odds than that too. G421 says, I think Uncle Aaron just sorted them old bones out, leaning Jets. Michael says under 37 and a half. I saw this as well. A lot of that has to do, of course, with Tom Brady kind of owning this team, but I did see that 18-2 last 20 versus the Jets, and this is the divisional game for people who don't know. Christian hit a 12-legger, a 5-legger last night for 1,200 with the WNBA. Love to hear that. And Tyler says Gonza is an elite cornerback. I could see Garrett Wilson under his receiving yards here. So the Jets offense has been, and this is the last thing I'll say about this game. The Jets offense has been pretty balanced. I was looking into this. They are 17th in passing attempts per game, throwing the ball about a little less than 30 times per game. And they are 20. They're running the ball. Rush attempts per game is 21.5, which is bottom 10 in the league. But I think that just speaks to their time of possession. They haven't necessarily dominated time of possession. They've actually given up a lot of time of possession. They possess the ball just 42.8% of the time, which is the third lowest time of possession. So the Jets haven't really had the ball too much. You go through and look at New England. They've done a really good job with time of possession. Defense has only been on the field 43% of the plays, which is the 5th fewest. So Jets, if they can't control time of possession here, which, like I said, I think we could see a swing just depending on what happens with New England's offensive line and who plays and who doesn't. Because I mentioned at the top of the show for people who joined late that they got 5 offensive linemen all listed as questionable in this game. that makes me lean towards the Jets. Like I said, you also got Juwan Bentley. He's going to be done for the season. It's not looking good. I think we see a little bit of regression for the Patriots defense in this spot, especially, against the run probably, where they are, only giving up 58 yards per game, which is the second fewest. Let's see. Can't stop is minus 150. Nah, I can't do it. Can't do it either. He says, do you use PFF for stats? Is it worth it? Someone recommended it to me for advanced stats. I do not use PFF for stats. I think their subscription is like $120 for the year, which isn't bad. Like I have contemplated it a couple times, but never pulled the trigger on PFF. I get all of my numbers. I run my numbers through a model that I created myself. PFF, of course, has tremendous numbers. So it's no shade towards them. I just kind of I want to see if I can do it myself before paying them $120. I use a lot of different resources that I pay for. So shelling out $120 is not going to kill me, but yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'll upgrade and get it, but yeah, right now I don't have it. All right. I did not think we was going to spend that long on that one game. I really, really didn't. I got all of the other games up here as well. This is what I talked about at the beginning. So New England allowing a 74% completion percentage. I don't think I mentioned this, which is, bottom 10 in the NFL so far. I mentioned their defense. You guys can see here, number 1 in opponent rushing attempts per game. Number 3 in opponent rushing yards per game. Number 2 in opponent rushing yards per game. Number 3 in rushing yards per attempt, opponent rushing yards per attempt. So like I said, they have been able to stop the run. I just think that could revert a little bit in this spot. I don't know what I'm going to do with this game quite yet, if I'm being honest. Like I said, I want to see what happens with the offensive line. So there's no play for me in this game so far. I did want to get into a couple of the other games as well, but I'm going to have to get through these a little quicker just because I'm a little short on time. But Chargers and the Steelers, this one opened with and this may be the last game that I get a chance to get into. We'll come back and do maybe I'll do another show this evening. We'll talk about the rest of the games. All right, so Chargers and Steelers open with the Chargers getting 3. This number's since come down to 2. I see a 1.5 available as well, just depending on where you're shopping. So 2, 1.5 total. Dean down. I'm talking about a whole touchdown down. It opened 42.5. It's down to 35.5 now, and for good reason. I saw this on Monday. I got to do a better job for the members. I'm gonna start sending out these plays a little bit earlier. I just be busy, man. I gotta do a little bit better, finding more time to cap the games early. But I did like this total. On Monday, when I looked, Monday morning, this was 38.5. And it's come down a whole another field goal. And I mean, what's not to love about either one of these defenses so far? I know that the Carolina Panthers are not the Carolina Panthers. The Chargers are coming off the win against the Carolina Panthers. So that's automatically going to make your defense look better whenever you get to play against Bryce Young. It just is what it is. But, I mean, you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, it's been really, really good. I'm not quite sure I want to trust, Herbert in this spot. I was trying to find whatever his interception was because he threw 2 last week against Carolina. Definitely think he could throw one against the Steelers defense. Just haven't been able to locate that number and see what those odds are quite yet. But when you look at this, just on paper, you look at this matchup, this Pittsburgh Steelers team is so good. They're number 3 in opponent EPA per play. They're number 9 in defensive success rate. Number 2 in opponent drop back EPA. Number 2 in opponent drop back. Number 12 in opponent drop back success rate. They're 3rd in opponent rush EPA. And 11th in opponent rush success rate. So top 12 in every statistical category that as far as success rates that you can be. They're absolutely shutting down the run, giving up just 76.5 rushing yards per game, which is the 4th fewest. Giving up only 260 yards for the full game, which is 5th fewest. I know that they're coming off, from the West Coast to get back to Pittsburgh because they just beat the Denver Broncos and they were playing against a rookie quarterback. But I'm just not ready to trust Justin Herbert quite yet either. The Chargers have also looked really, really good so far. They got the win against the Raiders in week 1. And Harbaugh's coming here and really ran the football. Like this is what we kind of expected. They're running the ball 35.5 times per game so far, which is the 6th most. 35 35 35 and a half times per game. The number 2 in rushing yards, 197 per contest so far. And, I just think it's going to be a smash mouth football type game. It wouldn't surprise me if either one of these teams scored in the first half. Like, I think maybe it's just the first half under in this spot might be the best way to look at this one. Real quick, let me just check. I want to double check one thing real quick before we continue. I think Pittsburgh has left guard listed as questionable in this game. I'm not even going to try to butcher his name because I don't know it. But it looks like the defense is completely healthy. And if I look at the Chargers, like I said, I got to do a little bit more work on these games. I have not completely dove into them. Justin Herbert listed as questionable. Says the x-rays for Herbert right leg were negative. So we'll see how that goes with the line with the line coming down. I'm pretty sure the Sharps are thinking that he's going to play in this game. And then they also got their free safety listed as questionable in this game. So I would need to look a little bit deeper into those injuries. It's going to be a really good game, man. I kind of feel like the Pittsburgh is in a good spot to win yet again. I looked at Mike Tomlin as a home favorite, and he's not the greatest, just 22-13-1 in his career, 16-20 against the number. But when you got him at home and he's laying less than a field goal, 9-5 straight up, 9-4 against the number, 10-4 to the under. So a lot of reason to think that this game goes under. He's covered 4 straight as a home favorite, laying 3 or more, and 7 of the last 8 in this spot as well, dating all the way back to the 2021 season. So Chargers have looked really good. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to run the ball here. Let's see what you guys are thinking about this one before we jump off of here. PZ says, remember, guys, the Jets are on a back-to-back short weeks. Start the season off on Monday night, then traveled across time zones for Sunday night, now playing on Thursday. Definitely a bad travel spot. And I kind of agree with this. I do kind of agree with that, PZ. And you got an older quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. So I think you make a valid point there. G421 says, yo, Chris, Bijan Robinson touchdown busted up my 11-leg parlay, had $1 for a jackpot payout. That's tough. That is tough. Absolutely. That's why I don't do those, because I'd be upset when I lose bets. I don't care what I bet on. I want to win every single one of them. Let's see. Can't Stop says, bro, one day I need to do a video on how you make a model. I would like to make one myself heading into the 2025 season. Yeah, we can. I can show you how I created mine. Can't Stop. I'm cool with that. Narda says, cheese the under. Can't Stop says he likes the Chargers. He taking a -2. I think he means +2, but he says Chargers -2. Jermaine says Herbert banged up. These low-scoring defenses, I still like the under, and I agree with that as well. Christian says, still think the dogs will be covering, or now going into week 3, things start to correct themselves. I think, each individual game is its own event, Christian. So I would need to look a little bit deeper into it, like the travel spots, stuff like PZ just talked about. This stuff like this means a lot to me when I'm handicapping the games. I talked about it being a bad travel spot for the Connecticut Sun yesterday, with them traveling back to Vegas, whereas you had the Lynx, that was traveling from, Brooklyn. They played at Barclays and they, beat the Liberty and didn't have to travel far to get to Connecticut at all, whereas Connecticut had to travel a lot farther. So even though they had the home court advantage, that travel spot didn't mean as much. So I take a lot of that stuff into consideration, which is why I think, I got to look a little bit deeper. I like to see where these teams are coming from, who's in a bounce back spot, because we saw a lot of the teams that played poorly in week 1 play great in week 2. So, that's the way I'm thinking about it. I got, like I said, it's a lot of work. I got a lot of work to do, on the slate in general, the NFL slate, before I feel confident in, firing off a play. The games that we didn't get to the Bears and the Colts. I really want to talk about that one. The Texans and the Vikings, didn't get a chance to get to that one. And then we got the Giants and the Cleveland Browns as well, a game that I am interested in betting, but I'll let you guys know how I'm feeling about that. The last game for the 1 o'clock slot is the Eagles and the Saints, with the Saints laying 2.5 against the Eagles. I'm very interested in that game as well. So we'll follow up with those probably this evening. Maybe I'll do another video. So for today, like I said, I didn't bet anything at all. Like I said, just kind of feel like I got a little bit more work to do. But I do enjoy talking the games out. Justin, I think, had a really good look with Hunter Henry to go under. I'm to go over on his 31.5 passing yards. Definitely shop around. Make sure you guys are getting the best line there. And I just want to see what happens with the offensive line. Sometimes it's a little difficult to place these bets early, in my opinion. Yeah, I know if you've been following me for a while, I like to get all the information before I, go official with any action. But I'll see. I'll do some reading. If you guys are interested in another great resource that I use a lot, it's The Athletic. All of the beat reporters that cover these teams write up articles, sometimes 2-3 articles a week, to let you kind of know, they're with the team in the locker rooms, doing the interviews, getting reports from, the players. And that's going to be your number one insight. So I do have on my Twitter, there is a beat reporter list for every NFL team. I don't know if it's completed or not, but there's at least 3 or 4 different people that cover the team. So if you guys are interested, you can go there and check it out. But I do pay for The Athletic as well. And they don't sponsor me or anything, but I like reading about sports before I put my money down on it. So that's what I'll leave you guys with. And that's not listed here under the resources. But yeah, I guess I should probably add it because I do a lot of reading on The Athletic specifically for the NFL before I make bets. So yeah, that's the show for today, man. OzJam referral code is here for anybody interested. 20% off your first month using referral code CBC. Same thing for Moneyballer. Using code ChrisBeCappinn will get you 50% off your first billing cycle over there. And that'll be the show, man. If you found it helpful, even though I didn't give out any official plays, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Let me know what you guys are betting in the comment section. What's your best bet? Let me know what your best bet for the NFL week 3 is on Wednesday so far right now. The link for all my official plays when I do send them out is in the description, as it always is. Bet responsibly on whatever you guys are putting your hard-earned money on. And I will catch you guys probably this afternoon, or if not, we'll be back early in the morning to get through the WNBA games as well. Enjoy your Wednesday, man. I'm out.